Alright, we're on. Welcome to Timeless Personal Growth and Development. Since everybody's doing it, nobody seems to be able to talk about anything other than this. I'm going to do it too. I guess I'm going to be a sheep and just follow the herd. And today we're talking about the slap. Yes, Will Smith and Chris Rock. And why it happened. Why it needed to happen. What triggered and what caused Will Smith to basically act the way he did. You can look at this in two ways, essentially. Start off with number one is what motivated Will Smith to do what he did. Was it necessary? Was it a proper way of handling, I guess, the situation? If you would, describe that as a situation. Well, basically, if you haven't seen it yet, if you're living under a rock and you haven't seen it, the Oscars were on Sunday. Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars. He made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, about her bald head being going to be part of the next G.I. Jane movie. The camera pans to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada's not happy, but Will is laughing. The camera then goes back to Chris Rock. He continues on with the show. And then you can see him kind of stop. And then next thing you see is Will Smith coming toward him on stage and slaps him. Chris Rock composes himself, which was brilliantly done, in my opinion. Will Smith goes back to his seat and then just starts screaming at him. And then Chris Rock telling me, oh, it was just a joke, and then continuing on with the show. It didn't need to happen. What Chris Rock did was it was a mild joke. It was a simple joke. If you go back and if you watch, I think it was the Golden Globes of 2020, Ricky Gervais, he said way more offensive jokes than Chris Rock ever did. And the 2020 Golden Globes, you can see people's reaction to Ricky Gervais. You can see that. And there's lots and lots of camera shots of Tom Hanks just looking at him and being uncomfortable. And Chris Rock was not offensive. He was tame, extremely mild. Nobody went up and slapped Ricky Gervais during the 2020 Golden Globes. And they had probably a little more motivation to do so than Will Smith ever did. Well, why did Will Smith go up and slap him? Well, it has nothing to do with Chris Rock, and it has nothing to do with Jada Pinkett Smith. It had all to do with Will Smith and issues that he has not resolved. What you saw Will Smith do is called posturing. He's posturing up. Lifting himself, sticking his chest out as a man and going up and slapping him and asserting himself. Why does he need to do that? Was he in a situation where he needed to posture up and assert himself and assert his dominance over Chris Rock? No, he didn't need to. That his actions were a reflection of himself and a reflection of how he sees himself in his marriage with his wife, essentially. It didn't need to happen. I'm doing this video because there's a lesson to be taken in all of this. A hard lesson. That Will Smith's behavior was, he was trying to prove something, trying to prove his strength, which made him come off just weak and pathetic, essentially. He's Will Smith. He's one of the biggest movie stars in the world. He's a Hollywood elitist. He has nothing to prove. He's Will Smith. His been in the business for over 30 years. He's the Fresh Prince. He doesn't need to prove anything. Obviously, he feels he does. Because when that camera turned back to Chris Rock after Will Smith was laughing, and all of a sudden Will Smith goes up on stage, there was, during that camera shot of Chris Rock, and you don't see Jada or Will, there was a clear interaction between the two of them. Or Jada probably looked at Will like, I'm not happy about what Chris just said, and you need to do something about it. So he had two options. He can either sit there and not do anything, which would have been the better option to do, and just laugh it off and tell his wife, like, no, it's just a joke, relax. Or if he really didn't like what Chris was saying and really felt like he needed to do something, wait till after the show. But for whatever reason, he felt like he needed to do something in the moment. Because if he didn't do what he did in the moment, he probably would have faced consequences at home with his wife. And that was probably more severe to him than the backlash he's receiving now after slapping Chris Rock, essentially. It was posturing. Posturing based on a certain sense of insecurity. And I've seen guys do that before, where they feel like they need to be strong, need to assert themselves. A guy who values himself, a guy who thinks very highly of himself, isn't going to feel the need to do that. Not at all. You imagine Denzel Washington do that? No. Because I'm sure Denzel Washington is more secure in himself. That if Chris Rock made a joke about Denzel Washington's wife and he didn't like, probably would have sat comfortably, sat confidently, probably make a face at Chris Rock, and then, you know what? I'll see you after the show. I'll deal with you later. Will Smith acted out of a sense of insecurity and trying to prove something to his wife. And guys feel the need to do that all the time. Oh, my wife is unhappy about this, so I gotta take some sort of action. Instead of actually thinking for yourself. Actually thinking rationally and logically, is this something I need to do? But they're not asking themselves that. They're not thinking about themselves. Or think it doesn't matter if they think, oh, well, my wife's not happy, so I gotta take some sort of action. No, you don't. Because it was a joke. Relax, it was a joke. Your wife may not like the joke. You know what? Okay. She'll get over it. But Will Smith decided to take some sort of action, decided to slap Chris Rock and create all this media attention. And if all this was maybe essentially done on purpose just to gain some sort of viewership for the Oscars, good job. Because I didn't even know the Oscars were happening. I had no interest in the Oscars. I haven't paid attention to the Oscars since like early 2000s. I didn't even know what was happening. But it caught my attention because all these videos of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock showed up on my phone. Like, oh, okay, what's this? And apparently it's been the talking point for the last 4 or 5 days. All over the world. But there's a lesson. There's a lesson in all this. It is that men get too wrapped up of what their wives and their girlfriends think. And think of what they should be doing, what kind of action they should be taking as a man, and not thinking for themselves. If Will Smith just was secure enough in his self, in his own masculinity, and in his marriage, he would have just sat calmly. It was Jim Carrey who said it. That, oh, I hope Will Smith gets some sort of help, because we all know that based on his actions and based on the way he behaved, he clearly needs some sort of help. And guys who behave like that, yes, there is something deep down that's wrong with you and that you need to work on and you need to improve on and you need to adjust. Of course, 100%. It was that, I think it was that apology. It was that apology that Will Smith wrote on Instagram saying that, saying I'm sorry for how I acted and the joke about my wife was too much for me to handle and I acted out. It's BS. After Chris Rock delivered that joke, he was laughing. It's nonsense. That's total BS. Too much for him to handle? No, because he was laughing after that joke was delivered. It wasn't the joke that bothered him. It was his wife's reaction to the joke and his wife's reaction to him. Oh, Will, you need to do something about that because that greatly offended me. Instead of not caring and just sitting still and realizing he's facing more consequences now than he would have. He just told his wife to calm down, relax, it's just a joke, I'll deal with Chris later. But no, because it's some sort of deep-rooted insecurity of who he is as a man. If it was me in that situation, I would turn just like, no, it's just a joke. Or if it was a joke that I was actually offended by it, that I disapproved of, take Chris backstage and talk to him one-on-one. Don't do it in front of live TV because the problem is now is that video is going to be there forever. And Jim Carrey said that himself, is that video is going to be there forever. It embarrassed Chris Rock and made him look really bad and embarrassed Will Smith, and that's all people are going to talk about now. If it happened backstage, even if the slap happened backstage, at least it's not on camera. And the world isn't seeing it. The lesson from this video that I'm making is stating that if you are a guy that feels like you need to defend your woman's honor, do it because you feel like you need to do it and it actually offends you. If it's something that offends her and you don't really see the big deal in it, talk to her about it. Talk to her. Because she is not in control of your actions and the way you behave. You are. You're in control. And take some sort of action to defend your wife because you feel, as a man, you feel it's necessary. But do it appropriately. Do it properly. Resorting to violence? Resort to violence if it's the last thing you can do. You know, if Chris Rock got off stage and went to attack Jada Pinkett Smith, yeah, that's the point where you use violence, of course, to defend your wife. But if it was just a simple, lighthearted joke, who cares? No big deal. Use your words. And you got to remember, if you feel like you're, defending your wife's honor, do it because you feel like you need to do it. And it actually offends you. It actually offends both of you, not just her. And don't just do something crazy and drastic and dramatic like that. Something that's going to get you in big, big trouble just because your wife thinks you need to do it. You do it because you think you need to do it. And that's the lesson you guys need to learn in this is you want to posture up and assert yourself. Well, do it in a situation that calls for that. This is not a situation that calls for that. This was a situation where Will Smith was trying to prove something. And he forgets that he's Will Smith. He's the Fresh Prince. He has nothing to prove. Nothing to prove at all. And it's some sort of insecurity that he needs to work on himself and his marriage. And if you're a guy that would feel like you would do the same thing, defend your wife's honor like that, well, ask yourself, are you doing it because you want to do it? Or are you doing it because your wife thinks you should do it? Because if everything that you do, every action that you take in your life is based upon what she thinks you should do, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in big trouble, man. Do it because you think it's the right thing to do. And don't base every single action based on what she thinks. Do it for you. You need to make yourself your focal point, your center point. In every action that you take, you need to be able to block out every single opinion and think to yourself, is this something worth taking action on? Is the risk of taking action worth what I'm fighting for? In Will Smith's case, clearly not. Clearly. Based on the backlash he's getting. Clearly not. And ask yourself as a man, if you're in a situation where you're going to do something like this, is this necessary? Is this going to cause more consequences and more backlash over something simple? Is this going to be, if this is going to give me more of a reward, is this something worth fighting for? And base any kind of action that you take, do it because you think you should do it, and don't base on any outside influence. You're the man, you're in charge, take action. And on that note, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I know this has been the talking point of the last week, and you know what? I just couldn't resist doing a video on this. Like, ooh, you know what? Everyone's talking about it. You know what? I'll talk about it too, because there is a lesson in stuff like this. Do me a big favor and like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.